Janice and the Mulberry Tree. So many years ago, back in the 6th century, in a small village in northern France, lived a nobleman from a noble family. His name was Honoré. I suppose he was a good guy. I've heard he occasionally said hello to the homeless man on the street corner. People say that he knew his housekeeper by name. Once someone even saw him pick up a piece of trash on the sidewalk that had been left by a careless person. But let's get back to his housekeeper, shall we? Because really she is the star of the story. No one knows her by name, for she was a lowly housekeeper and these things tend to get lost in history. But let's call her Janice. Not Adeline or Emily or Claire as you might expect. Janice. Janice took care of Honoré's needs. She mended his clothing, cooked his meals, and baked his bread. Yes, in addition to all of the other daily crap that she thanklessly did for Honoré, she was a baker. Now Janice wasn't just a baker who made scones and muffins and biscuits like the housekeepers in England. She was a French housemaid and baker, which meant she was expected to make baguettes, puff pastry, croissants, palmiers, and all of those other delicate and delicious and difficult things. And hers were the best around. Anyway, one autumn day, when the air was crisp and the leaves had begun to fall, as Janice stared out her bedroom window on the edge of the servants' quarters, she noticed a lonely branch hanging from a small tree. It was a mulberry tree, and this lonely branch was hanging by a thread, blowing gently with the wind. Most people would have thought that this lonely branch was long dead and ready for the burn pile, but Janice knew better. It still has some life in it, and I know just what to do. I'll prune this lonely branch and plant it into the ground beneath my window. If I plant it at just the right depth and in just the right place, it shall grow this upcoming spring. And so with her sharpest shears, she cut the lonely branch and buried it beneath her bedroom window, and with the patience of a rock waited through the long and dark winter months for its first signs of life. It was on the first day of May after a Friday drinking binge that Honoré stumbled into her kitchen just as she was completing the final turn of her puff pastry. "Janice, Janice, Janice, make me something yummy." She interrupted his drunken stammer. "Honoré, go to bed, you're drunk." "Janice," he slurred, "you know what they told me?" "Who told you?" "I don't know what you're talking about." "Go to bed, you're drunk," she repeated. "The church, the priests," he said. "They said they were going to make me bishop, but they'd appreciate it if I would first perform a miracle." "What the hell are you talking about, Honoré?" "Go to bed, you're drunk," she said for the third and final time. And so he did. He stumbled off to bed, passed out, and by the following day remembered absolutely nothing from the night before. Now, though it seemed like she had not been listening the previous evening, Janice was quite good at multitasking, and so all the while Honoré was blabbering about, she was devising a clever plan. For even if he wasn't the most kind or generous person, fortunately for him, she was. She had a kind soul and open heart and always did the best for those she cared for. He woke the following morning with a throbbing headache and to the sound of a raucous crowd. Following the sound, he saw them gathered outside the servants' quarters. As he approached, he noticed Janice centered among them. "What is going on? Why is everyone here?" he asked. One of them shouted, "We've heard you will be appointed bishop, and that you'll perform a miracle." Another yelled, "Let's see a miracle." Honoré was speechless and thoroughly confused. I want to see a miracle, please, begged a small child while hanging on his shirt. Janice, with a performance worthy of an Oscar, shouted the loudest. Honoré, if you're so special, let's see you perform a miracle and turn my baker's peel into a mulberry tree. Let's see it, shouted more in the crowd. And with that, she drove her baker's peel into the ground just barely next to where she had planted the lonely branch months before. The commoners and clergy, too, who had come to see what the fuss was all about, stood and stared at the peel in the ground. Of course, nothing grew immediately because that's not how nature works. But Janice spoke to the tiniest children. Water my baker's peel each morning as the sun rises, and on this spot, in a fortnight and a day, a mulberry tree here shall arise. The children followed her instructions to the T, and sure enough, on May 16th, as the crowd gathered to see, the mulberry tree sprouted from the ground just as Janice had said it would. There was a celebration like none other in the small French town of Amiens. The clergy proclaimed Honoré a bishop, recognized his feat as a miracle, and named the day to honor him and the mulberry tree the tree of bakers. And Janice shaped her lovely baguettes in the nearby kitchen and smiled a silly grin. The end.